All right, let's go over some candlestick patterns because seeing them on the chart, identifying them while you're on the chart, is going to help you understand it, and it's going to sink in more when you see it in live action. So, let's start with the pin bar formation. Remember the pin bar formation. We'll start with the bearish pin bar. A bearish pin bar, remember, can be either green or red. What makes it the pin bar is the long wick at the top. Of course, the stronger one is the one that is a red one. So let's draw that out so you remember what the pin bar is. So basically your pin bar looks similar to this. So remember, those are bearish possible indications. And when you see those at the tops or the bottoms of market or common price levels, support, resistance, we'll learn more about that later in the course, that when you see those can be, just calling clues to what could happen. So let's look at a good example of one. If we go here, to the top of this move here, you'll see an example of that pin bar right here. We actually see a couple of them. So when it comes to the pin bar, notice that just like in the diagram, you have where there's bullish momentum leading up. Now in the charts, and the real charts are not going to be quite perfect, but this was actually a decent example as far as the bullish momentum. So you see, you have the bullish candle. See how that's a strong candle? We could zoom in closer just so everybody can see this. So you have the bullish candle here leading up into the pin bar candle. This is still a bearish pin bar, even though it's green, because like I said, what makes the pin bar is the long wick on top, little wick at the bottom, little body. So you see that bullish momentum. You see consecutive green candles leading up into this pin bar. Then the pin bar forms. You see the wick coming into that position. And then that bearish momentum coming in to create the wick. So at one point, this candle looks similar to this candle, but longer. This whole area here, we can illustrate that. It may or may not let me do this. Okay, so it's too zoomed in to really do it. But imagine that all being a green candle, similar to that. But bearish momentum came in and pushed the price down. To really confirm a pin bar, you must start seeing bearish momentum after the pin bar. So you see it here with these two candles. So you see these two candles create some bearish momentum. So remember, bullish momentum, pin bar, bearish momentum following. So you see that, and in this example, it creates this move down. It's the telltale sign for this move down. Of course, this was already what you would say as resistance or a price level because of all these candles bouncing off of it. But this gave you the final indication. And this move here after that pin bar was a 85 pip move. So a really good sizable pip move. If you were to trade it, it would have been a great profit. The other one is a doji. So you see that the second candle after the pin bar, let's get rid of this. The second candle after the pin bar was actually a doji. So sometimes in the markets are going to give you multiple indications of, the different candles or different things that can happen. So remember why I say location is key when it comes to looking at the individual candlesticks. Let's look at this doji versus this doji. Let's look at that. So what's the difference between this doji and that doji? Why did this doji fail, or wouldn't have been a good doji to trade off of or to pay attention to the markets off of? Now, why was this one invalid? Whereas this one led to an 80 pip move. Let's look at this. If you look at this candle, if you think about, remember, candlesticks tell a story. So let's go back to the story that it was told. So bullish momentum, very, very decisive, strong. You see these bigger candles. Momentum led up into this doji. So yeah, you have that check, but this was very strong bullish momentum. The doji happened and there was a pause in price. And remember what the pause means. The pause means it's indecisive. So there was an indecision to price itself. But what confirmed, if it's indecision, think about that tug of war. Think about that tug of war analogy when it comes to dojis. You have two evenly matched people pulling on the rope. And they've been pulling for a while. But over time, one team is going to get more tired than the other team. So after a while, that momentum is either going to go one way or the other. So in this scenario, there was the bullish momentum, pause. Now you're trying to see what is the decision. Who's going to win the tug of war? So that's why you wait to the next candle. This is just giving you an indication to start to look. This doesn't mean trade. A lot of people see this, it means trade. This does not mean trade. This means look. So they see this, and you're waiting for that next candle to say who won the tug of war. Or as you can see, the bulls won the tug of war strongly because a strong bullish candle printed after this doji. So now that doji, the decision is the market's going to continue up. So that would have been no trade for, you know, a reversal or a move like this. Now, you'll know in later courses for the way we teach the trade, you're not going to just place a trade because you see that the market will go up for a little bit. That's not the safest area to trade, but we'll teach that later. But for now, just know that this doji, you wouldn't be looking at a sell because the next candle told you that the sellers lost the tug of war. And now they're buying. Let's look at this story. This story says that bullish momentum was continuing. Now you can tell just by looking at the candles, remember decisive versus indecisive candles, that the bullish momentum leading to this doji is way stronger than the bullish momentum leading into this doji. And reason being, if we look here, delete this. If we look here, the bullish momentum leading into this were mostly dojis. You had some small some candles, but you see doji, 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 actual bullish candle, and then a pin bar. So this tells you that there's indecisive movement, but some bullish movement. So would you think that this is stronger or this is stronger? Obviously, this is stronger bullish momentum. And now you get to this doji. Now, this doji is actually more significant than this doji just by comparing the two candles, not even considering the momentum leading into that candle. Why is that? This doji here created one longer wicks, but it has a longer body than this doji. And it's a bearish body. So this doji would actually rank higher on a bearish reversal indicator than this doji that was a complete standstill at one point. So now you have weaker bullish momentum leading into this doji, and the doji itself being stronger than this doji. And then here's what makes the difference. After all of that, the shift in momentum is confirmed when the next candle closes a decisive bearish candle because the bodies are bigger than the wicks. that would be a stronger indication of the market taking a real shift to the downside. So it's about understanding that story that's going to give you the best example. The next one that we're going to look at is the railroad pattern. The railroad pattern doesn't happen quite often, but when it does happen, they're great angles. So let me zoom out. Let me see if I can. And you remember the railroad pattern is the one where you have, would be the bearish one, where you have a strong candle that's bullish, followed by equal and opposite bearish candle. Followed by equal and opposite bearish candle. So when it comes to the railroad pattern, that's what you're looking for in the bearish sense. And the bullish sense, it's just reverse. Bearish candle first, bullish candle after. So let's see if we can identify some in the markets. And not all railroad patterns are going to have no wicks. Some of them are going to have some wicks. So let me see. Let's look here. See what qualifies. You know, you start to see multiple candlestick patterns as we learn about these different ones. But I believe I just saw one. Where was it? Here. So these two candles here. Let's zoom in. So these two candles are still considered railroad candles. One, because they're equal in both body and size. You have a bullish candle followed by a bearish candle. Now, this would be considered an imperfect railroad pattern, but it still qualifies as it because, like I said, equal bodies, relatively equal wicks. So let's look at the story that tells on this railroad pattern. Same similar sequence of events as the doji. You have the bullish momentum here leading up into that bullish railroad, and it's confirmed when bearish momentum follows the railroad. So bullish, railroad, bearish. And that gives you an indication that the market is shifting downwards. Now, when I say the market is shifting downwards, it doesn't mean that a downtrend is forming. That just means as simple as the momentum is going in the downward direction. And momentum is just where price is moving currently. Now, this could be moving, this could be considered downward momentum. And, you know, it went down from, let's say, you know, we didn't know that that was going down. This could still be an uptrend. Like this could still be considered an uptrend. But in this moment where these candles are forming consecutive bearish candles, you know that the momentum is bearish. So the momentum and the trend could be two separate directions. The trend is the overall tendency of which direction it's going. But momentum is the tendency of it going down. And we'll go cover that in later videos. But as you see that the bearish momentum goes down and it confirms that bearish momentum is present. So you would then, you know, look for a possible sell. As you can see, after that railroad pattern, the market did move down. So if we look for after that railroad pattern in this market, just to measure it out, you would have had, that was a 70 pip trade, and it only went against you maybe 5 or 6 pips. It's about understanding the story of the markets. You don't just trade it because you see it. What is the story leading to it? And what is the story afterwards that confirms it? The last one is the engulfing candle. I love engulfing candles because they're such decisive indicators. So the engulfing candle would be, engulfing candles usually show up all over the place. Let's look at a couple actually. So here's one. Here's one engulfing candle, and see how this bullish engulfing candle engulfs the body of this one to a large degree. And you see this one here. This engulfing, followed by a second one. It was a double engulfing pattern. Now, I like this one versus this one, and I'm going to show you why. So let's start here, though. So let's zoom in. I think we can zoom in on all of it. There we go. I like that. So think about the story. The story tells the tale. So downward momentum leading into this candle, downward momentum. The most important thing, though, to recognize an engulfing candle is what is the candle before it? Like, what's the relationship between the preceding candle, which is this bearish candle, and the engulfing candle itself? And what I mean by relationship is how much different in size are these candles. Let's think about this. So you have a indecisive doji candle. It's still bearish, so it still counts, but it's an indecisive doji candle, followed by an engulfing candle. It still counts as an engulfing pattern. But notice how the engulfing candle, the body is just about more than the entire size of the candle. You know, if you were to slide this body and put it even with the top of this candle, it would actually go and precede that candle. But what makes it an engulfing candle is that the body is bigger than the other body. So not only the body is bigger than the bullish body of this candle is bigger than the bearish body of that candle, you have a significant difference in size of the body. So if you were to like combining a couple things, so you have bearish momentum, you know, you want the opposite momentum to lead into the candle that creates the reversal, because that just further says that this candle means something. The actual trigger candle means something. So this engulfing candle not only engulfs this candle, this candle, this candle, it also engulfs this candle. So it engulfs 4 candles. So like if you were to, because engulfing candles are so important, I'm actually take it a step deeper on engulfing candles. So grading engulfing candles. All right. So these are questions you want to ask. How much bigger is the body of the engulfing candle in relation to the preceding candle? That's question number 1, right? Now, the second thing is, how big or strong is the body of the preceding candle? That's grade number 2, you know. Grade number 3 is what type of momentum was leading into that candle. I'll give you a bonus question, and which should be the question for all candlestick patterns. Is the pattern located at a support? I'm gonna put S for support, R for resistance, so support or resistance price level. So remember those 4 questions for engulfing candles. For all other candles, remember the last 3 questions. These 3 questions are going to help you grade all other candlestick patterns. But the engulfing candle has an extra question. So we're going to put that there. So how much bigger is the engulfing candle in relation to the preceding candle? The body. In relation to the preceding candle, we'll put the body as well. To body of the preceding candle. There we go. All right. So you can tell that this engulfing candle is probably 4 or 5 times bigger, the body, like comparing the two bodies. And then on top of that, we'll do a question B as well. Let me back up. But really make sure you understand this. Does the body of the engulfing candle, or let's do is the body of the engulfing candle larger than the entire preceding candle? So body and wick. That's what I mean by entire candle. So this candle, the body is larger than the entire candle of the preceding candle. Now, how big or strong was the body of the preceding candle? So you see that it wasn't really a large candle. Had you had something like this where there was a decisive, strong body candle and then this happened, I really love that scenario, because that shows me that this candle is completely eradicating the strong momentum leading into it. But you have a couple dojis in the middle of that. So like if I was grading it, that'd probably be like a 6 or a 7 out of 10 for me. You know, this one, of course, the first question would be a 10. The second question would be like, you know, a 10, like, or a 9 or 10, like a good grade. So if you're able to like grade these with high marks, you know, out of 10, then you have a great level. Like in the beginning, you know, you may have to take a little time and ask yourself these questions just so you understand how to think about it. Then once you get to a point where it's second nature to you, you're going to automatically answer these questions in seconds because you've done it so many times. That's how you do engulfing candles. So now with that in mind, we could compare the 3 engulfing candles that we highlighted in this section of the chart. So meaning this one, so that one, and this one. So these are the three engulfing candles patterns that we want to grade. Like we're going to see, you know, which one is the strongest one out of these 3. And if we were to rank them, what would they be? Like as far as strength and I guess clue or evidence of, you know, the momentum switching. I mean, we got one more, but we're not going to focus on this one. There's one more here. You know, maybe I have a couple minutes. I'll tell you why I wouldn't focus on that one. So let's start here. You know, engulfing candles pop up literally everywhere. So that's why you gotta know which ones to focus on. The first candlestick, like I said, there's a doji leading into it. We kind of graded it already. So it was a doji leading into it. It was located at a support resistance level, you know, not a very defined one. But if we were to kind of do this here, you know, that was a support level because it was tested before. Well, if you don't know what support is, don't worry, we'll catch into it in a very soon video. But it was located at a support level. Support just simply means the floor price, where price finds support, and resistance means where price, you know, reaches a top or a ceiling. So just as a 30-second lesson, you know, this would be a resistance point. And that would be a support point. So you have this candle here. Then we have this one here. So we're looking, this is the bullish engulfing candle. One thing that you want to know about as far as location goes, you want bullish engulfing candles to be present at support levels. You don't want bullish engulfing candles, or look to trade bullish engulfing candles present at resistance levels. So this is a resistance level. We were to, you know, spread that out. That's a resistance level. So that's an engulfing candle leading into a resistance level. So for me, that is not one that I pay attention to, because it's going in the wrong direction. It's at a resistance level, so I'm looking for bearish engulfings. So just to keep that in mind, support, you look for bullish engulfings. At resistance, you look for bearish engulfings. So now we got a bearish engulfing pattern. This is my favorite one out of all four of these engulfing patterns. Let me tell you why. Go back to our grading. Now, how much bigger is the body of the engulfing candle in relation to the preceding candle? You can tell it's about 3 times bigger. Second, is the body of the engulfing candle larger than the entire preceding candle, the body and the wick? Yes. You can even go and use the pips, whether you're on MetaTrader, and I'll show you how to use that in a later video, or TradingView. That's a 22 pip candle body. This candle itself, this whole candle, is a 14 pip candle, the entire body and the wick. So yes, the body of the engulfing candle is larger than the entire preceding candle. Now, how big or strong was the body of the engulfing candle? As you see, remember what I said about decisive candles. Decisive candles have little to no wick in the direction that the price is going. So this candle here would be teetering on an indecisive. Yes, it has a strong body, but see, there's a wick that's almost as big as the body, but it's slightly on the decisive side. And all you're doing with decisive, indecisive is seeing how big the wick that is ahead of the price movement is in comparison to the body. This body is slightly bigger than the top wick. So it's barely a decisive candle, but the body is actually a decent size. So that one would probably be like, if I'm grading it, maybe like a 7, since it's barely a decisive candle. What type of momentum was leading into that candle? Was it strong, or was it strong momentum or weak momentum? It was just a couple bullish candlesticks. So the momentum of that bullish candlestick was weak. So if the momentum is weak leading into the engulfing candle, that could be a good sign as well, because really either one could be, like, either strong momentum or weak momentum could be good signs for engulfing candles, as long as the engulfing candle itself is a strong one and it's present in the right area. So this had, marginal bullish momentum leading into it. So there was bullish momentum leading into it. So all you're asking yourself is it bullish momentum leading into that engulfing candle, or bearish momentum? A little bit of bullish momentum. Just a few candles, but barely enough to be called bullish momentum. So yes, you want bullish momentum, whether strong or weak, to be leading into that candle. And it's the pattern located at a support resistance level. The wicks get close to that level. So I'm going to say yes. So the pattern is located, is coming off of support resistance. So that is a great engulfing candle, because it checks all my questions for an engulfing candle. So like I said, you could use all these 5 questions for the engulfing candle. The last 3 questions here you use for every other candlestick pattern. So the last part is to just go over decisive, indecisive candles, just to identify some in the live markets. Let's look at a different part of the market, so we can get a fresh eye. We can actually go to a whole different pair in general. Let's go to Euro USD. Whole different pair in general. And all we're going to look for is decisive versus indecisive candles. Decisive candles, like I said, have strong bodies. Strong bodies, very little wicks. And if they do have a wick, that wick is behind the price movement. So that's not going to let me line it up correctly, because I think I'm too zoomed in. There we go. So that's like a bullish decisive candle, and change the color. That would be a bearish decisive candle. If the candle looks like this, where you have bearish, and then you have a large wick like this going against the momentum, that's not a decisive candle in accordance to that bearish trend. Same thing for bullish candles, or if you have a wick like this, so you have either a large wick ahead of the price movement, or like a doji where you have wicks on both sides, like good sized wicks on both sides. That's not decisive. That's not decisive. So these are your decisive candles, and they're strong indicators. We'll just keep it simple. Just do decisive candles. So that's decisive. This, I'm going to do a call out on this one. This is indecisive. Let me make these two green. That way my OCD people don't close the video. There we go. There we go. Don't worry. I'm gonna get you taken care of. Make it kind of even, and white lettering. You know, we can use the white lettering too. There we go. Now the OCD will not leave my video. But these are decisive, indecisive. So now you know the different candlestick patterns. You know, practice this on the chart. You know, take time to identify what candles are what. Just focus on the four candlestick patterns: doji, railroads, engulfing candles, and what was the last one? It's leaving my mind. Doji, railroad, engulfing candles, and pin bars. You know, focus on those four candles, those four candlesticks. Like, you know, learn and identify them. You know, this is a doji. This is a doji. That's a doji. This is indecisive candle. It's not really anything. Doji. You know, just play with it. Play with it. Engulfing candle. So, like, take the time to actually do that. Here's a pin bar. Do that on your own, and that's how you'll understand these candles. So I hope that you found value in this video, and I'll see you at the next one.